So the next one is planning. How far in advance should we plan our school year? I am not the person to ask because I start planning around January for what I want to do the next year. So you don't want to hear that, and I'll let them talk.
You're funny. Well, for me, I mean, if you're talking about like lesson planning as far as opening up a calendar and saying, okay, if we start in August, how much do we do? Again, I kind of look at, I'd say I usually look at my math curriculums and see, okay, roughly what lessons, how many lessons do we have, how many tests or whatnot, and then just kind of gauge, you know, roughly how many weeks is that for us. And that's more so we can put in those breaks that we desperately need throughout the year, because there are times where we're like, okay, we're gonna go, we're gonna hit it hard for the first 6 weeks, and then we typically are needing a few days break or a week break, and there's time for that, and so we factor that in. So I don't know how much I can speak to this one because my planning has evolved over the years. I used to be okay, I'm going to write out lesson this on this day, and you know, and I never, like, that works for the first couple weeks, and then and then I'm like, okay, we didn't, because the thing is if you go and say, okay, we have to do lesson 1 through lesson 5 on the first week, and if you hold so fast to that and your student is struggling to understand a concept, you'll stress yourself out thinking you have to, if you're not doing all the lessons in that timely manner, you're going to be behind. You're not. This is an opportunity for you to solidify, like we said, the areas that your child might be struggling with. Take that extra day or take that extra week. If you're not understanding a concept, it's not going to help to move on, because they're not going to, you know, many curriculums are spiral within itself. So if they don't understand that, they're going to have a hard time a few weeks down the road. So, you know, give yourself time, or allow yourself that freedom to, you know, you might have a child who wants to just get it done. And so they might do 2 lessons per day, or, you know, or 5 lessons in 4 days or something. But just, you still want to, even if they're an independent worker or learner and they can do that on their own, make sure you're checking in to see, do we really understand these concepts? And, you know, do they understand this? Or maybe you notice that they're every question that's the same kind of topic we're getting wrong. That's an opportunity to go back and say, okay, we're just gonna, instead of doing the next lesson today, we're gonna go back and let's look at that lesson that covers this topic on, you know, fractions, and let's revisit this and see what we're not getting. So, you know, hold that loosely, I guess, the planning, because I do find myself in years past of writing out my planner, like buying one of those planners and writing out, okay, this day for this child, this lesson, and like 2 weeks into it, it's all for naught. Then you just have to go and erase all the things you just wrote out. So, you know, don't plan too far ahead, so you don't give yourself that wiggle room. Leanne?
I'm that January girl too. January 1st, you know, you already start planning for that next year. Yep. But no, seriously, that just allows me to be able to see kind of what my offerings are going to be outside of the home, and so that I can be ordering by May or June. But I don't think that if you make the decision that you want to homeschool August 1st, that you're too late, because you're not, because there is no set, oh, you have to do it how you heard somebody else do it. But so what I did over the summer prior to was I used a tool called Homeschool Tracker, and it is an online planner. And I would spend time over the summer entering all of my lessons into like a pool of lessons. So it would be lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and so on, so you had them all in there. And then when we actually started school, I would go in and, you know, like the Saturday or Sunday before the week prior, I would take 5 of those lessons and I would put them into that week. And then I go to social studies and take 5 of those lessons and put them into the week. And then if it came down to the end of that week and, oh, we didn't get all the social studies done, the following weekend I would be able to take those 2 lessons and move them to the following week and add the next 3 lessons to them for those 5. It was a really good tool because I was able to at least put all of the lessons into that program, but then I was able to move them around inside of it as when I was actually going to schedule them to be done. Another thing that I did was, I know Saxon Math usually has 120 lessons. I would say, okay, by January 1st, I want to try to have 60 of those completed. Or I would hit little highlights as to where I wanted to be at a certain time. But again, flexibility is the key, but you just kind of want to have some markers along the way to know that you're not going to be in August the following year trying to finish up. So.
Right. Yes.
So I plan out a 36-week school year. And that's exact pages we're going to read for history every single day. But I do that for history and science and, what read alouds we're doing, all that kind of stuff, all the extras. But I don't do it for language arts or math because like what Pauline was saying, you don't know if they're going to need, an extra week on a specific list of spelling words or, hey, we're going to pause math this week and just work on our math facts for a while because it's just taking a little too long, stuff like that. So that's how I do it. I would not ask or expect anyone in their first year of homeschooling to do what I'm doing right now. My biggest recommendation, I probably should have said this in the curriculum one, my biggest recommendation for those starting out is to get a box curriculum and just go with the one company and they have it all planned for you. We did Sunlight our first year. It's a big notebook, but you open it up, you don't do any planning.
Tells you.
You open it up and it tells you what to read to your kids and what the lesson is, and that's what you do, and they'll give you a heads up of these are the materials you need for art or whatever, and so you don't have to plan. So you can literally decide August 1st or whatever, I'm going to homeschool this year, and this is what I'm purchasing, and this is what I'm going to use. Yes. So I think buying a box curriculum, it is more expensive than pulling your own stuff, but for the first year, or if you're only going to do it for 1 year, that extra $200 is like really appreciated that they do all the work for you. And it just takes a lot of the stress off of you being the one planning. So it also teaches you, maybe what you like and how to learn, how your kids are learners, how you're a teacher, I don't know, so that kind of stuff. So so I don't regret getting a box curriculum that first year. So
yeah. I second that. Oh, also the question, are they also wondering how much lesson planning prior to the week? Is that what they're also asking that question?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
It just said planning. There was a fear there that they said they're afraid prepping will take too much of my time. Like I said, I don't schedule out math or language arts, but on Sunday night, before the week, I look at, 5 lessons for each and I put it in the planner and see where we're at. And it takes me like 20 minutes. So I do about 20 minutes of lesson planning a week because I do all of it in the summer. So that's what I do.
Yeah. And I'm not, I agree. So if you're doing this just for a year or you're brand new to it, then that box set like Sunlight or My Father's World or one of those where it's kind of scripted for you, where it tells you day 1, this is, it's got a whole guide and it's fully scripted in what it tells you what to do for science, what chapters you're supposed to read. So that takes off the pressure of trying to figure out how to lesson plan for your week because it'll be in there. And so I would encourage something like that as well. I would say that's a good one to do. And if you're not going that route and you're wanting to be like me and be a little eclectic in picking what you feel like works best for your family, then I do have some curriculums like for science and for history that come with guides that they tell you what to read and then what experiment to do, and they tell you all the steps for it, and they tell you all the discussion questions to have with your kids. So there are a lot of curriculums that have that built into it as well.
I think if enough people have more questions on planning or how to write in a planner or stuff like that, we could always do another short video and just show some examples of different ways that you can plan it out with 4 kids or 2 kids or whatever, how we plan that out. The last question was, what do we need to purchase?
And then, of course, aside from your curriculum, in your curriculum, it'll tell you, like for science or for history, not history, but for science, like what your supplies might be if you are using a science curriculum that has experiments or, hands-on science type of work. Your basic school supplies, I guess, it's helpful to have. I found even just a small size whiteboard, you can even go to, yep, I've got those.
That's a necessity.
Yes.
We use this for every single subject. We diagram molecules, we practice Spanish, like I use this for everything.
Yeah.
So
even a small one like that, you can just start with, or if you want something bigger, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and they have just a big sheet of whiteboard that you can get. You don't have to get it framed, and you can just hang that up or just plop it up against the wall on a chair, which is what I do. And then your typical school supplies, you're going to need pencils and lots of them.
always missing.
So yeah, pencils, markers. I have a kiddo who she is much more artistic than my others, and so for her phonics book is done in color pencil or marker because it brings learning to life for her to have color rather than black. So she can do that totally. So you might find yourself needing some crayons or color pencils and things like that. But I mean, nothing. I can't speak to high school, so I don't know. For high school, if you're doing high school, if you need lab stuff, but that curriculum would let you know if what your supplies would be.
I think every student needs a fresh box of Crayolas every year, so that's definitely on the list. The whiteboard was our definitely #1 school supply. I mean, we used that well into high school. I still have them in my cabinet, to be honest with you, but that's definitely one. But I also want to caution against getting too much. I know that when your students go to school, you get this big old long list of stuff that you have to get. Just know that you don't have to buy the paper towels and the copy paper and the wipes and all that kind of stuff. Only get what you're going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going to use markers, then don't buy markers. Or but you will need the wipe off markers for your whiteboard.
Mm-hmm.
But just do what you think you're going to get, but don't think that you're going to use everything and that you have to buy what you would traditionally buy on a school supply list.
Yeah.
You also don't need desks for all of your kids. The kitchen table works fine. We do have a desk now, but we just have one, so they share. And when one of them is doing desk work, the other one sits on the couch with me and we do other stuff, and that's how that works fine. But I know a lot of people that all their kids sit around the kitchen table, and that works just fine too.
That's the best. So,
and honestly, it's really great because then they know, like, you got to clear your table after breakfast, clear the table, and that's kind of part of our routine. Clear the table, and then everybody get out their math or whatever subject we're doing. So we don't have the space to have individual desks, so we have everyone sit around the table, and I really like it because I'm accessible and and I can also help redirect children within my reach. All right, I think we did
Okay,
the
so I think that's about it for planning and supply stuff.